So essentially, as I was saying, we have this notion that we're this body, but actually we're the soul that resides in this body. Now we will go a little deeper and understand how and what exactly I mean by this. So our education system, unfortunately, is so disconnected. So we have specialization for everything virtually today. Astronomy, different aspects of metallurgy, technology, so on and so forth. But there is not a single university which talks about the soul, and that's essentially what we are. We are Atma, or the spirit soul, which resides in this body. Now, we're going to understand again logically that we are the spirit soul. We're going to see some proofs, okay, which explain that we are not this body, but we are spirit souls. And we're going to take three such proofs. One is simple logic, okay. In logic also, we will take 2, 3 understandings. Second is science, scientifically, and what our scientists and doctors say. And third is our scriptures, because we've already understood in our past sessions, scriptures have the right knowledge. It is time tested, proven, true. So we will take that. Before that, Sarang's hand is raised. We will take his question. Go ahead, Sarang.
Prabhuji, there is a term called the mythology.
There is a term called mythology, is what you're saying?
Like the mythology where the study of the gods and the demigods, etc.
So
there is no classes of this.
1 minute, your voice is a little unclear. So mythology is the word that you're saying, just nod your head.
Yes.
Okay.
But there are no classes like that teaches this about the god and demigods in the like.
So firstly, let me explain. This term mythology, na Sarang, is given to us by the Britishers, which basically means what? They're calling it myth. But whatever our scriptures explain is history. It is called itihas. But to put their modern education system and erode the Gurukul system, this is what the Britishers did to us. And that is where the term mythology came. For our scriptures, our epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, for them, it is mythology. But the fact is, it is itihas or history. And there are adequate proofs. Today, scientifically, people have gone, submarine is there, which has seen the Dwarka submerged underwater, right? NASA has captured the bridge that was made from India to Lanka. The images of the bridge have been captured. So there is adequate proofs that proves that whatever our history is actually history, not mythology. So please understand, this word mythology itself is wrong. Unfortunately, it is given to us. And because we have no clarification and because no school teaches us all this, we accept it. That's the problem. Get it? Okay. So now today, as I was telling you, we will take 3 proofs. And the proofs are for what? That how the soul exists. So the first one is simple logic. Now, what's this logic? Common sense. Okay. We see a person, right? He's walking, moving around. But then we see the same person. People call him dead. Why do they call him dead? The same body is there. He's got the same hands. He's got the same eyes, but he's just not moving. So the body is the same. What has gone away? That is what is the soul. The soul moves from one body to another, is what Bhagavad Gita has explained to us thousands of years ago. So common sense says that if there is a dead man with the same body and he's not moving, means something has gone away. And that is what the soul is. Now, the second common sense logic, or the simple logic we will understand, is introspection. If we introspect, how do we talk? What do I say? This is my hand, my eyes, right? The very fact that I'm saying my or my body, I'm not saying I body, I'm saying my body, means the body belongs to someone. The hand belongs to someone. That's why I'm saying my hand, right? Otherwise, what would I say? If This is what I was. I would say I. So I. Or ma, I would say I hand, but I say my hand. So you introspect a little and you will understand that even when we're talking about our hand and me being separate. Again, simple logic, but that's the second. And the third is cause and effect. So suppose I see on a highway, there's a car which is ahead of me. It's got dark glasses and it's moving at full speed, but I don't see anybody driving it. So is it possible that because I don't see anybody driving it, the car is going on its own? Possible? No. So that is the reason I understand that if there is an effect, there is a cause behind it. So what is the effect? The effect is that the car is moving and has to be that there is someone driving the car. Same way, the very fact that this body is moving, there has to be someone driving this body, and that is what the soul is. So this is the first way of understanding, which is logic. Now let's look at the second way, as I said, scientifically. So I'm going to give you two very important people who've spoken about scientifically how the soul exists. So the first scientific explanation is near-death experiences that people have had. Now, what do I mean by near-death experience? Near-death experience means I'm on the verge or I actually leave the body and I come back. That is called near-death experience. So there is one very famous, he's called Dr. Michael Sabong. He's got so many research papers about near-death experience. You can Google and you can read a host of such experiences. I will just share one or two. So one experience that he has conducted and is noted down was of a particular doctor and this man who had got a cardiac arrest, he got a heart attack. And thereby he was being taken to put some stent and all. There was a surgery planned. That is when he suddenly felt that he actually left the body, went out of the window of the operation theater, and actually flew up high in the sky, and then suddenly came back. And then he was gasping for breath. And he told the doctor that this is what has happened. I just went out, I went to the up in the sky and I came back. The doctor said, "Hello, Baba, you're hallucinating. Relax. Don't worry. Just take it easy." And that man is saying, "No, doctor, I am telling you it has happened. I actually saw your entire hospital building. I went right up. In fact, I saw the terrace. There was a water tank. And near the water tank, I could see a pair of shoes, white shoes being kept for drying." And the doctor said, "Okay, why don't you just relax now? Let me do the surgery and we will speak about this. Don't worry now." He calmed him down. He went through the surgery, so on and so forth. And once he was moved out, the doctor also thought, hey, the conviction that this man spoke, let me go up. He actually went up to the terrace and he saw that near the water tank, there were actually a pair of white shoes that were kept for drying. Now, a day or two later, he came and he spoke to him and he asked him. And that man had never, first time he had come to that hospital, there was no way he's gone to the terrace or seen it. He came straight with a cardiac issue and he had to get a surgery done. So that's when it was discovered that such experiences happen. And Michael Sabong has given a host of such experiences. Now, another doctor talks about what we call as past life memories. Dr. Ian Stevenson, very famous. He's proved over 3,000 cases of past life memories. Now, essentially, as the Bhagavad Gita says, the soul moves from one body to another, to another, to another, right? So that means we have had multiple lives, right? And that is proved when somebody has their memory of their past life. And Ian Stevenson found many such cases. Many of them have been recorded, and he's got an entire thesis of that. One such case which I had read about, was of Deep Kapadia, his name was. A young boy, he was 4 or 5 year old. He was born in Mumbai in a Gujarati family. And suddenly his parents noted that he speaks in a different language. Now, they didn't understand that. But when they checked with their neighbors, it was a Marwadi dialect. So Marwadi also is spoken differently. And this was a particular Marwari dialect that he had, and very authentic, huh? Like what people speak in the villages. What you see in big towns, people speak a little different language and from what they speak in the villages. So they were a little worried. And then he would often talk about Mara Gama and all. He would speak like that. Okay, what happened in my village? And these people are wondering, we've never taken him out of Bombay. What is he talking about the village? So they thought, कि कुछ mental problem तो नहीं है. So they discussed with their family friend and a doctor. Doctor said, नहीं यार ये past life का हो सकता है. And I know Dr. Ian Stevenson is doing a lot of research on this. So Dr. Stevenson's team was called. And then they spoke to the child. And the child said, near Udaipur is my village. So they said, okay, let's go. So all of them actually went. And when they were sitting in the train, this boy started telling, ये village अभी ये next station आएगा. When his village was close by, na, before his village, 2-3 stations he already knew. Now this village will come. Now that station will come. Now that station will come. And at the station, this boy gets down, starts walking out as if he knows the station. He goes out, finds a tanga. You know what's a tanga? A horse carrier. Traditionally in India, and this story is of the 70s, 80s. That is the time when a lot of horse carriages were used in India, in the villages particularly. So he goes up and he starts negotiating with the Tonga guy and he tells him where exactly he wants to go. All the others are just following him. And then he finally reaches one house, he reaches one wall and he's looking at the wall and he's telling that there used to be a door over here. Everybody else doesn't know. So they went to the neighbors, Ian Stevenson's team, and they asked, was there a door over here? They said, yeah, one incident had happened and now they've shifted, the family has shifted the door backside. So they went back and they entered the house and then the family was there and this man who was now there was this child's son in the previous birth. And he starts talking to him in first name basis as if he's his father. And that man is wondering, who's this child talking to me as if I'm. And then he starts telling him things and the whole family is shocked. And then Ian Stevenson's team tries to explain, but they are thinking, has someone come to dupe them or something? But then this boy is going on and on and on. The man is asking questions. The boy is answering perfectly about the family. Then he said, let me ask some more questions. Then he said, my father used to have a gun, which he had kept hiding, which only he knew and I know. Do you know where it is? And that boy actually took him up in that cupboard where the gun was kept. He found it. And then he mentions that how he was killed. He used to be a guard in the palace of Udaipur. And how he was killed, he was talking about that. But of course, later on, as he grew older, those memories faded away. But the fact is to establish that the soul moves from one body to another, to another, to another. Even doctors who have done research have found this, many case studies across the world, not only in India, across the world, available. You all can check Ian Stevenson. Okay. And then the third reason is our scriptures. We've already taken it in the earlier sessions, how scriptures have mentioned everything accurately. They've foretold things, right? Which have actually happened. We've taken that in the past so many sessions. So our scriptures clearly mention, Bhagavad Gita mentions, the soul moves from one body to another, to another, to another. And someone who is not bewildered by this is said to be in real knowledge. Normally, we tend to lament, but the fact is we have to understand this is inevitable. Movement from one body to another, that is typically what is happening with the soul. And this cycle will continue till we want it to stop. And Bhagavad Gita explains how you can actually move out of this and not take another material body. So that's a separate detailed topic in Bhagavad Gita. But the fact is that scriptures clearly mention thousands of years ago, the Lord has already mentioned the soul moves from one body to another. And that applies for all entities. How you see the life cycle of a tree, that's the way it goes, from a seed to a mature tree, back to a dead, rotting log. And same is the case with us. We move from birth to being boyhood, to a teenager, to maturity, then finally old age, and then death. Right? Now, if I show you this, one more concept, just to let you know, another clarification. Within our body also, scientifically it is proven that every 7 years, we have a new body inside us. Means the cells rejuvenate and there are new cells every 7 years. This again is scientifically. So literally we are having a new body every 7 years. And for that matter, when you see a child and when you see an old man, you can actually see the changes happening, right? You can't recognize sometimes from your childhood that this is you. That is again how the development is happening. Okay. So what do you see over here? What are these? What are all of these? Arushi, Janisha, what are all of these? Simple picture. Yes, anyone unmute and please tell me. Yes, Sarang, tell me, go ahead.
Is the evolution of the vehicles we first used to like the small bike.
Sarang, somehow your audio today is not clear, beta. I can't hear you only.
Now you can hear me, Prabhuji?
I still can't hear you. I'm so sorry. Can you just put in the chat, please? Yes, Radhika has mentioned vehicles. Is that what you wanted to say? Sarang, what is that you wanted to say? Please put in the chat. I'm waiting. I don't know why I can't hear Sarang today. Can others hear and it's only me who can't hear?
This is journey of vehicles.
Yeah, these are various vehicles. Okay, right. Perfect. So these are vehicles. Now, just to explain to you, ultimately, these are all simple vehicles which can be used. Similarly, for the Jivatma or the spirit souls, there are 84 lakh vehicles available, which we call 84 lakh species. Now, what do we mean by 84 lakh species? 84 lakh species basically means the different bodies that are available. Now, scriptures explain these are the 84 lakh species. There are 9 lakh aquatics, 20 lakh plants, 11 lakh insects, 10 lakh birds, 30 lakh land animals, and 4 lakh human race. Now, in 4 lakh human race, what actually it means is the level of consciousness that is there in the people. So, for example, someone at the lowest human consciousness is who? Maybe someone who's a tribal, living in some God-forsaken island, very primitive. For him, it is just eating, sleeping, defending, that's it. Virtually, he lives like an animal, but he's got a human body because he doesn't have the consciousness to think higher, right? Vis-a-vis someone who's slightly more developed, he understands that there is a creator who's created everything, right? Or maybe lower than that would be somebody who just understands his life is to enjoy. And someone who's at a very high consciousness, say the sages, they understand that this human life is very valuable. So when I say there is a variety of humans, it basically means their consciousness. Different people are in different consciousness. That's what I mean. So all of these vehicles are available. And how do we get these vehicles? We get these, so we can either upgrade or downgrade ourselves. So we get it based on our activities, which we will come to in the latter part when we come to the karma factor. Okay. So this is just to make you all understand that these are the vehicles available to us. Now, many a times people don't believe, hey, I've given so much of proof, but people will still say, I can't see the soul only. How do I know there's a soul? So to understand that, again, we will take a couple of examples and proofs. But simple thing, like once one of our brahmacharis had gone to one of the college programs, and again, one of the young boys debated with him, says, I don't believe there's a soul. You prove to me there's a soul, I will shave my head bald like you, he told him. And the brahmachari was also very relaxed. He told him, okay, you all are science students. He had gone to a science college and he said, you all are science students. They said, yes. Okay. So in biology, you see that any small things are seen by a microscope. He said, yes. He said, in chemistry, you use litmus paper to understand the acid test and all. He said, yes. He said, okay. In physics, you take vernier caliper to measure small distances and all of that. Yes. Then he asked him, can you use a microscope to measure distance? Or can you use a litmus paper to, see a germ? Not possible, right? Similarly, if you were to do anything scientifically, there is a process and there are certain apparatus that is to be used. The brahmachari explained to him, similarly, if you were to see the soul, there is a process and there is an apparatus, the way of doing it. If you're willing to follow, I will show you the soul, the Atma. So then he went and he explained to him that, look, we basically have three different levels of bodies. Like even in a rose, you can't see the perfume in it. There's a process by which you get it out, right? If there are oil seeds, groundnut, or any other, you cannot see the oil in it. Similarly, in fire, you cannot see, in wood, you cannot see the fire. And in milk, you cannot see the ghee. But there is a process by which you can do all of this. In sugar, you can't, in sugarcane, you can't see jaggery. So you follow the process. He said, okay. And then he went on to explain to him that, see, our body is not what you see externally. There are three levels to the body. One is the gross body, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Next is the subtle body, he said. What is the subtle body? Is made up of the mind, intelligence, and false ego. There are three layers. This is the second layer of the body. And underneath the subtle body is something known as a spiritual body or the Atma. These are the three levels of the body. Now, if I were to put it in simple words that you people will understand, you know, a computer. So a computer has a hardware, a software, right? So what is the hardware? Hardware can be compared to the external body, what you see. What is the software? Can you see the software in a computer? Can you? No. Similarly, the subtle body, which is made up of our mind, intelligence, and false ego, is something that cannot be seen, but it is there. We cannot function without it. And the third and the most important, you have your computer, you have your software, but अगर electricity लगेगा नहीं उसको तो चलेगा क्या? Without electricity, will it function? No. Similarly, we may have this gross body, mind, intelligence, but till that spirit soul is there, this body cannot function. And the example that I gave you of a computer, our Upanishads give us an example of a beautiful analogy with a chariot. So this chariot is like our body, where the five horses are like our five senses, which ride the body, hands, nose, eyes, mouth, all of this. So we move or we function with these five senses. But these five senses go based on what? They go based on the mind. So the mind is like the reins of the horses. But can the mind work on its own? Above the mind is something known as intelligence. I'll give you an example later. But above that is something known as an intelligence. And that is what makes the mind function, or it tells the mind what it's supposed to do, what it is not supposed to do. And based on our intelligence, we will go wherever we have to. So the soul is like this passenger who's just sitting. And the five senses, the mind and the intelligence, will actually take him to his destination. So what does it mean? It means that if the soul or the passenger has to reach the right destination, all of them have to function properly. But typically, if you see, the senses demand individual attention. They are like wild horses. Like the tongue will want something, the eyes will want something, the nose will want something else. So they are like five mad horses. But it is the mind which keeps them together. Many a times you will notice that, right? Your tongue demands pizzas, burger, and your Your body, your skin demands the best of clothes, the best of shoes, and your ears want the best of music. So it's all clashing, right? But the mind has to control them. But many times what happens, the mind is only weak, right? I'll give you one simple example of the mind and intelligence. So mind and intelligence are always in dialogue with each other. And many times they're fighting, where the intelligence is trying to tame the mind, but the mind is trying to fight the intelligence. I'll give you a simple example. You're all students. So look at it like this. A boy who hasn't studied on the last day, exams are tomorrow. He's got his full portion. Last day he decides, oh my God, I have to pass. Let me start studying. So he starts studying. And the mind is telling, Arey Baba, last day kuch nahi hone wala hai. Nothing will happen. Forget it. Just chill. You're anyway going to fail. But then the mind will, intelligence will say, no, no, try. Study. Come on, whole year you've been, just wasting your time. Just really study now. So he's studying. And then he studies 3 hours, 4 hours, and then the mind again tells him, Bas ho gaya. I can't do anything. Right? But then again the intelligence will tell him, do a little more. Come on, you can do it. And then he again studies. Then finally it's like 10 o'clock in the night. And the mind then says, Bus, I give up, I can't do any more. But then the intelligence says, Acha, you can't do now. Sleep for a few hours, but get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and study. Then you'll pass. And then he puts an alarm and he goes to sleep. Now, when the alarm rings, again the mind will say, shut it, Baba, go to sleep. But the intelligence will say, no, get up, study. So you all have experienced this conflict of mind and intelligence, yes or no? Not, it may be this case of studies or it may be some other case. Like, take another example. I go to a wedding and I love gulab jamuns. Gulab jamuns on the buffet spread. I just gobbled down 6 gulab jamuns because I love them. And then I'm full till here, but my mind is telling me, oh, they are so delicious. Have 6 more. The intelligence will, arey, pagal ho gaya. If you eat more, you'll have an upset stomach, you'll puke. Right? So this dialogue, have you all noticed it? Have you all experienced this? It is constant. I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't have experienced this ever. Anybody who's never experienced this dialogue? No? Everybody's agreeing that yes, it happens? Now, half your cameras off, so I don't know. Only Janisha is nodding, so I know Janisha is paying attention and she's listening. You've experienced this, Janisha, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is the constant thing that happens with us also. And we have to ensure that we have our intelligence to be strong. Okay. Moving further. About the soul. There are many questions that people often ask that, typically. So let's take a few of these questions which are typically asked about the soul. Now, one of the questions is the soul same in everybody? Do you think the soul is same in everybody? No, right. Janisha is rightly nodding. Everybody, the soul is different. Each one of us is a separate Jivatma. Even 2 identical twins are different souls. Another question is, where does the soul reside? It resides in the region of the heart, is what our scriptures explain. And then, is the soul destroyed at death? The Bhagavad Gita mentions the soul is Sat Chit Anand. It cannot be destroyed. No bullet can destroy it. No fire can burn it. No water can drown it. Nothing can happen to the soul. It is Sat Chit and Anand. It is eternal. It cannot be destroyed. Another question is the soul same as God? So the answer is, in quality, we are one with God, but in quantity, we are infinitesimal. Like you have the ocean, you take a drop of water or a mug of water from the ocean. So in quality, the composition is the same, but the quantity differs. Similarly, we are one in quality, but we are different in quantity with the Lord. Okay. Moving ahead, another question. Does the soul change with changing bodies? Do you think so? No. Only the body changes. The soul is the same. It does not change. Only the bodies change, the soul does not change. Then, the soul be measured? What is the size of the soul? So our scriptures explain, if you take a tip of a hair, one strand of hair, and see the tip of it, divide that into 10,000 pieces. The tip of a hair divided into 10,000. So it's 1/10,000 the size of a tip of a hair. So you cannot see the soul typically. So if I were to explain it simply, we are all, let's take this example first of this lady who had a parrot. She loved the parrot. And for the parrot, she got a golden cage instead of a normal cage. She would, after the golden cage arrived, she was so, you can say, in awe and in love with that cage. She would polish it every day, clean it every day, keep it glittering. But she started to ignore the parrot. And sooner the parrot died. So essentially, we are all like that parrot. And this body is like that cage. So if we live our entire life only taking care of our body, looking good, being fit, all that is great. But you cannot ignore the fact that you are not this body, you are a soul. So you have to feed your soul. Now, what is food for soul? We will come to in the last session. But it is important to understand that we should not forget that we are the spirit soul. If we forget that, what happens? Our entire life is focusing only on one thing. What? Body. And that is what materialistic life is. Focusing on body, eating good, looking good, wearing good, moving around to good places, everything good. But internally, you're not good. So externally on Facebook, you look good. On Instagram, you look good. But internally, you're sad. Something is wrong with you. That is because maybe you're not giving food for the soul. So this is very important. Okay. Now we get into the next aspect of our discussion. That is the karma factor as to why do bad things happen to even good people. So let's move a little into this. As I told you, we live in a world where there are many, many unique entities, all are different, right? So you have some people who are born beautiful. You have some people who are born with some disorder, handicap. You have some people who are very handsome looking. There are some people who are not very good looking, right? You have some people who are born with a golden spoon. They have all the comforts, all the luxuries. And you have some who are undernourished, literally. Why? If we ask ourselves, why does this happen? Right? Is there any reason why there is so much of suffering? Is God so cruel? Right? That he makes somebody happy, somebody sad, somebody in pain, somebody in pure pleasure. But in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says, I am equal to all. So why is this contradiction? So to explain that, let's take the example of a judge. You all know there's a court and there's a judge. What is the rule of the or the function of the judge? What does he do?
To be fair and do
To be fair
justice.
and give judgments. Okay, so that is what the role of the judge is, to be fair and give judgments. So this judge gives death penalty, imprisonment, but the same judge also gives plenty of compensations to others, right? When there are disputes, there is compensation also given by the same judge. So can we say that the judge is partial? No. Because what is he going by? He is going purely by the actions. He is not going by his whims and fancy. He is going based on the actions that that individual has performed. Lord does exactly that. He gives everything based on our own activities. And that is what is known as the law of karma. Now, we will go a little further into this law of karma. To explain that, it pretty much is like law of karma in simple words is like Newton's third law. What is Newton's third law? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So if I bang the door is going to bang back to me. right? If I eat something spicy or something which is not so palatable to me, next day I'm going to have trouble. If I sow mustard seeds, will I get mangoes? Obviously not. I will not get mangoes. So as I sow, shall I reap? That is what essentially the law of karma states. I'll give you a simple one story I'll tell you. So there was once this very famous pianist, Polish guy. His name was Fedris Ignatius. Very famous pianist, uh, very influential. And so once it so happened, uh, there was this group of young boys. They wanted to pursue further education. So they decided to have a huge concert and they wanted to have this man play over there. And they went, they gave him a token advance. They said, you know what, we are funding our post-graduation study and we want to conduct this and we will be grateful. So he agreed to do it at a very nominal cost. They gave him a token advance. And later on, this concert failed miserably. They couldn't manage to get, those many tickets sold. So when the time came to pay the pianist, Fedris, they went and they apologized. They said, sir, this has failed and we wanted to actually fund our education and that's the reason we did this. So this man just said, forget the balance money. In fact, you take back the amount that you gave me also. And these kids were stunned. And chapter over there. Couple of years later, this pianist rose to the position of becoming a president of Poland. Right? And at that time, a couple of years later, Poland was struck by a very bad drought. And they were actually in a crisis. And when they were in a crisis, they needed help. So the president, as the president, he wrote to many such countries. And when he wrote to the US, immediately one entire huge cargo ship filled with all aid came to their rescue. And he was obliged and he was thankful. Couple of months later, he said, I'll go down personally and thank them. So he goes down there. And when he goes there, he meets this person, William Howard. And when he's interacting with him and he's thanking him, Howard tells him, I have just reciprocated to your magnanimity. And this man is wondering. He said, you remember many, many years ago, 4 kids had come to you and we had done this concert and you had forgone all your compensation. I am one of those kids. And what I am today is thanks to your gesture. So what essentially happened? As you sow, shall you reap. You help someone, that help came back to you. But that is what karma is. Now, that was a good activity. Similarly, you do bad activities also. So karma is what? Pious work. And what is sin? Sin is known as vikarma. All the bad things that we do, they fall in the category of vikarma. So karma, vikarma. Sin, karma is good activity, vikarma is bad activity. So both give us reaction. Okay. Now, beyond karma and vikarma, there is something the Bhagavad Gita explains as akarma. Now, akarma are activities which do not have any repercussion. Good activities also bind us. Bad activities also bind us. Bad activities will give you a lower birth. And if you got a human birth also, you may be poor, you may be ugly. If you've done good activities, then you will get a good birth. You will be beautiful, you'll be powerful, you'll be rich. But you will still fall ill. You will still grow old. You will still face death. So good and bad activities both have a payback or a pay out. But akarma is beyond that. And that is what Bhagavad Gita explains. These are spiritual activities. What Arjun did on the battlefield, he didn't want to kill anyone. But when Lord Krishna told him that, it became a spiritual activity because he was following the instructions of the Lord. So for us also, we can do a karma. How we will do, we will see in the next session. But if we follow the instructions of the Lord, and we live our life accordingly means we are doing a karma. Okay, so just understand for now, karma, vikarma, and akarma. These are the three categories of karma. Now within karma, you have instant karma or delayed karma. What is instant karma? Instant karma is like an ATM machine. You all have gone, right? You all have seen your parents at least go. You put in a card, remove the money instantly. There is delayed karma. That is like a check. You give it today, it'll be encashed after 2 days or maybe 3 days, depending. Right? Instant karma is like mustard, grows very fast. Delayed karma is like a coconut, it will take years to happen. Instant karma is like if you misbehave with a woman, she slaps you. Delayed karma is like if you murder somebody, even if you're not caught now, you will pay for it later. And delayed karma we see in the Mahabharata, where Dhritarashtra was born blind and his 100 sons were killed. Why? He asked Krishna that. And Krishna told him, this is not what you've done now. You had done it 50 lifetimes ago. You were a hunter. You had burned the eggs of a bird. You had shot an arrow and you had blinded that bird. And that's the reason you're suffering this. So that is delayed karma. Now, there is individual karma when a person meets with an accident. And then there is a collective karma when an entire group, trains, airplanes, you see, this is called collective karma, where all these people together get into that. But somebody may say, Arey Baba, mujhe to malum hi nahi tha. I didn't know only. That's why I did this. So what is my fault in it? Not acceptable. Even in this local, if you see in this material world, if you were to board a train and you have a normal ticket and you enter a first class compartment, what will happen? The TC will catch you. He will fine you. If you tell him, Arey Baba, sorry, I didn't know only. He'll say, that is your problem, not my problem. Right or wrong? If a student is cheating in the exam and he says, Arey, I didn't know only, I'm not supposed to cheat. Right? You're supposed to know what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. Exactly the same way, we're expected to know how to live this life. What we should do, what we shouldn't do. Otherwise, law of karma applies. No excuses. Now, another question is, if I do everything bad and I realize, but then I do everything good, account settle hoga? If I do 10 good things, but I've done only one bad thing, will it be 10 minus 1, 9, and I'll enjoy 9 things? No. The law of karma says, if you've done anything wrong, you have to suffer the consequences, and whatever good you have done, you have to enjoy the bounty of that also. There is no nullification. It doesn't work like that. Okay? And then the most important aspect of law of karma is what we see. Many a times you see such horrible people doing the worst thing, right? And you see that plentiful, doing wrong things, wrong deeds, but they are very happy. They are rich. Why? That is explained by this simple granary. Now, in olden times, the farmers would store all the grains that they would harvest in this kind of a granary. Do you see this? It used to be huge. And you used to put in the grain from here and you would get it out from down. That's the way it would function. You put from top, remove from down. Now just imagine this situation where the farmer has a great harvest in the first year. So he stores his grain in this lower section. Then in the second year also he has a great harvest. Where will it go? Up here. Then in the third year also he has a great harvest. Then the granary is filled till here. But now in the fourth year, he has a very bad crop. It's a bad crop. So where will he store it? Obviously, it will go somewhere here. Fifth year also he has a bad crop. It will go here. Now it is full. But when he is removing it after 5 years, this comes out first. So what is coming out? What went in first? This is called first in, first out, FIFO. Karma works on FIFO method. First in, first out. What went in first is coming out first. So that is the reason you see today, there are so many people who are doing the wrong things, but then they are enjoying. It's purely because of this principle that in the past, many lifetimes, they have done something good. But this does not mean that everything, see, the law of karma is explaining that everything is not controlled by God. We have something known as choice. We have the power to choose. Like if I'm born rich, I have the power to choose where to use my wealth. I can use it in sinful activities, right? Drink, gamble, do all the wrong things, or I can use it in a good activity. That choice is mine. If I'm beautiful, I can make good use of it, make bad use of it. If I'm intelligent, an intelligent person only is needed to make an atomic destructive bomb or become a terrorist and use it for the wrong deed. And intelligence is also needed to do the same activity, but for a good deed, right? Hacking. So there are good hackers and there are bad hackers. Some do it for protection, some do it to usurp somebody else's wealth. So that is the way it functions. If we use whatever we have in the right way, then what we are doing is we are making good choices. And these good choices will decide our future course of action. So, what does it mean? It means human life is like a train junction, right? If we are confused, what are we supposed to do? We're on a train junction. Now, when you're at a train junction or an airplane for that matter, if I'm at Bombay VT station or I'm at Bombay International Airport, I can decide, right? I can choose a flight to Delhi or I can choose a flight to London. My choice. But having boarded a London flight, then I cannot say I want to go to Delhi now. Similarly, the law of karma is like that. You have the power to choose before you do that action. After that, the result, not in your hand. As a student, you have the choice. Copy, not copy. Be fair, be unfair. Once you have used an unfair means, then the repercussion is not in your hand. So we need to live responsibly. If we have to ensure that we use this human life perfectly, we have to live responsibly. Responsibly towards ourselves and responsibly towards the society and all that has been provided by Lord. Why is there so much of disruption in the world today? Global warming, right? You've seen flash floods happen in various parts of India and the rest of the world. Japan, there was a typhoon. China was affected by floods. Why is all this happening? Because we ourselves are not respecting Mother Nature. We've become so selfish that for our own material sense gratification, that means better senses, serving our body better, we've just gone berserk in terms of exploiting everything. And the result of that is going to come sooner or later. Some is instant karma, some is delayed karma. So we need to understand that this human life is special and we should live responsibly. Our next session is all about how we utilize all this knowledge that we have taken over the last few sessions into living a life more responsibly and perfectly so that we achieve that ultimate goal that we're looking for, eternal happiness. All right. So we will end today's session over here. And the next time will be our last session, wherein it'll be a roadmap to actually getting to where we want to. And how should we do that is what we will understand next time. So for now, this was a long session. In between, I didn't give you all a chance to ask too many questions because it was a long session. I just wanted to complete it. Any questions now? Go ahead.
Prabhuji, I don't have any question, but I just want to show my temple at home. Can I?
Oh, you want to show? Please show your temple. Let all of us have darshan. Wow. Hare Krishna. A little closer. Bolo Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki Jai. Very nice. Wow. So you had a wonderful celebration of Janmashtami?
Yes.
Beautiful, I must say. And what is your contribution in all the beautiful decoration?
I decorated the jhula for Kana.
Lovely. Lovely. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yes, Janisha, go ahead. Very nice, Radhika. Wonderful. Yes, Janisha, you had raised your hand. Go ahead with your question. Are Arushi, Sunaina, and 108, Baba. At least show us that you all are there. Camera off, you all are on mute, no questions. How do I know whether you all are there also?
Prabhuji, I'm
Or you all
here.
are
I'm just
sleeping participants?
traveling. So
Any questions, any doubts, or was it all clear to you all? I think Sarang left. Maybe he had another class or something. Anyway, so if there is no question, we will end over here and we will meet next week for the final session of Journey of Self-Discovery. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.